We're live. Welcome to episode 19 of UnHacked. We are live on Facebook and YouTube. If you're listening to this later, man, it's already come and gone. It's in technology, things move fast, so you better get on and watch us live. All right, guys, let's do a quick introduction. I'm Justin Shelley with Phoenix IT Advisors. I'm going first, by the way. I always go last. We support clients in the Dallas-Fort Worth metro and then also in Northern Nevada. Coming soon, maybe into Idaho, TBD. Anyways, this podcast has been something that I think we all kind of just love doing every week, but also it keeps us sharp. So there's kind of a hidden benefit to it there. So that's me and my story. Mario, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and how to say your name properly, because I always screw it up.
Mario Zaki with Mastech IT. We are located in North Jersey, servicing the tri-state area, Jersey, New York, all the boroughs. Tomorrow will be our 20-year anniversary. So,
congrats!
Thank you. And I mean, we service the tri-state area, but just like these guys, we can do nationwide if we need to.
All right, Mario. Congrats on the 20 years, man. That's pretty. That's something, man. That's something. Bryan, tell us
Bryan
about yourself.
Lachapelle with B4 Networks, located in Niagara Falls area, Ontario, Canada. We like to say that we help business owners remove all the frustrations that come with dealing with technology.
All right. And last but not least, Barinder, back for, what is this, your second appearance on the show, I believe?
Second appearance. Last time was fun, so I'm back. I heard you guys talking about AI. I'm like, I can't miss that one. So Barinder out of Vancouver, Red Rhino Networks. We serve the lower mainland of British Columbia here, but then, of course, clients all across the country. So, having a good time.
I heard at least two of you that have just become competitors of mine, so I'm not sure how I feel about that. But anyways, so guys, today we are talking about artificial intelligence, the benefits and risks of using AI in your business. Before I go any further, I would like a show of hands of everybody and anybody that used AI to prepare for this episode. No, but okay, we've got Mario. No, Bryan, Barinder, you didn't use AI in prepping for today?
Not to prep for today, no.
Hypocrites. Oh my God. I did, by the way. I did. So let's talk. I want to open up today with the definition of artificial intelligence. And, I said that as we were getting started. Was it you, Mario? It was like, everybody knows what AI means. I'm like, yeah, well, sure. Everybody knows what the cloud is too, but define it.
Right.
Put a lay user, an end user in front of a camera and a microphone and say, hey, what's artificial intelligence? That'd be, I would be in fact, put tech geniuses in front of a camera and microphone like we're doing right now and go, what is artificial intelligence? Bryan, on the spot, what do you got?
Well, I'll tell you what artificial intelligence is not, and what most people think it is automation, and it's not. So just because something is automated doesn't mean it has artificial intelligence. My view on artificial intelligence is something that is capable of making decisions on its own and be able to learn and grow and inhale new information and be able to process that and embed it into its algorithms. So automation, by definition, can make decisions, but it's static. It doesn't change without human input, versus AI that can make changes based on new information and change its programming essentially on the fly to allow that change to happen.
All right, Barinder, you got any thoughts on this?
Yeah, similar to what Bryan is saying, it's definitely not automation. What AI is, artificial intelligence that enables computers or machines to simulate human thinking and problem solving. And I think there's three elements that make AI AI. One is some ability for generalized learning. It has an ability to continually learn. It has an ability to reason, mimicking human thinking, and also an ability to problem solve. And I think those three elements really differentiate it from other kinds of technology.
Right.
I hate to break it to you guys, but you're all wrong. Have you seen the movie iRobot? Have you seen iRobot, Will Smith, back in the day? When was this?
Yes.
I don't know. At least 10, 15, 20 years ago. I don't know. I'm an old man.
Yeah, he's still sitting at the bottom of the ocean right now.
Is that not the real definition of AI? Is iRobot, the movie? So if you haven't seen that movie, go watch it and you'll know what AI is.
Yeah.
It's the misunderstood, unseen, computerized force that will eventually take over the world and annihilate all human existence. That is
Scott,
what we're talking about today.
Thanks, Justin.
All
All right, I'm
right,
gonna
you
hang
guys
up
did it.
now.
All right, your definitions were technically more accurate than mine, but I like mine better. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about what it is, what it isn't. We've already got a head start on that. What do machines do better, and what do humans do better? That one I'm really interested in breaking down with you guys. And then, of course, this is a podcast about cybersecurity, so we do have to at least touch on how does AI impact cybersecurity, both the good guys and the bad guys. I want to hit both of those.
Right.
But we're really gonna. I would like to, and this is why I say this might, Bryan. I told you earlier, this might be a little bit longer than normal, or Brenda I was talking to, because while we're going to talk about cybersecurity, I kind of want to get into this podcast is directed at business owners. How does this really matter to the owner of a business? If I put myself, I mean, I own a business. What are the benefits of using it? What are the risks of using it, and then really what are the risks of not using artificial intelligence in my business? So I want to get into that, and then maybe kind of build a template or a roadmap or a checklist or whatever of how somebody could go from knowing nothing about AI, never using it anywhere in their business, and getting started. I'd like to leave people with that kind of a process. All right, does that work, guys?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so hopefully you're ready. You've done your homework, you've got your notes prepped, and we are going to jump into what do humans do better and what do machines do better. Let's start with this topic, and I'm not going to moderate here. You guys just jump in and start duking it out. What do we got?
Well,
Well,
I
I think.
mean, no, go ahead,
Go ahead.
Brenda. I was just gonna talk out of my ass probably, so go ahead.
I think sometimes when people think of AI, they think of AI and compare it to the end game of a human intelligence. I think we're so far from it being a general human intelligence still, and I think that's a difficult benchmark to hit. So the way you frame that is what is AI and machine learning? What is it really good at? A good term that I've heard in the past, especially applied to machine learning, but I think also applies to deep learning, which is what AI is based on, is they are prediction machines, and they're pattern recognition machines, prediction machines, and then now using generative AI as a subcomponent of that, they can actually problem solve for you. So if we think of that categorization of learning and problem solving, whereas pattern recognition, that's where machine learning AI really excels.
Okay,
Yeah.
Mario, you were
Yeah. Well, to add on to that, what I think humans will do better is actually thinking of what the problem is that they want the machine to solve. So you tell it, like, give me this, and it will output something based on information it's gathered previously. Where humans will kind of think of something that hasn't been thought of before. Where I feel like AI will not make that decision at the moment. It will not come up with something out of the box new because it hasn't been done before. It hasn't gathered that information to present something new.
Yeah.
okay. Any other takes on this?
I've been thinking about like what the future looks like in this AI world a lot because I've got two young daughters, and what do I want them to grow up learning? What skills do I need to teach them? Because if it's something that AI is going to be able to accomplish in the future, what is the role of the human, right? And if the future is going to be two types of work, one is you're told by AI what to do, or the other is you get to tell AI what to do. I want my daughters to be on the telling AI what to do side of that
Right.
equation, right? And I
Yeah.
think the elements that come into creativity and integrated learning, I think that's always going to be the most challenging aspect for AI to mimic versus, any of the odd predictable outcomes like, that are spreadsheet driven, for example.
Right. I think
Yeah.
from my perspective, I'm seeing that AI a lot of people thought it would not be good at doing the creative side or the music, the arts, and things like that. And to an extent, it's still not. But I think it's surprising how many people are actually able to utilize AI to generate and or at least soup starters. I like to call it soup starters for on the art side. I think where AI will shine the most is in going through a massive amounts of potential iterations of something and give and narrow down to a very small subset where we as human beings should focus. So, for example, in the medical industry, is being able to go through 100,000 different compounds and narrow down which compounds scientists and or um, researchers should focus their efforts on first to get the best results, or potentially being able to use AI to narrow down what type of treatment from the hundreds of thousands or the thousands of different treatments available for a patient down to like the 3 or 4 that are the most likely to succeed for that patient based on their makeup, which would take a human being too much time to do and it just wouldn't be realistic. So I think that's where AI will be a lot better than a human being is just in handling the massive amounts of iterations that we would have to go through to resolve what would seem for we wouldn't do that work for one individual or for one small thing, but with AI we can now.
Yeah. An AI-powered model in 2019 was able to detect lung cancer more accurately than
Right.
doctors.
Correct.
When it comes to the healthcare system, like Brian's saying, it's going to be reinvented because AI and machine learning is so good at recognizing patterns, and a lot of diagnostic work is pattern recognition with large sets of data.
Did you guys ever watch Back to Hollywood, right? Have you ever seen House?
Yes.
The medical
Yeah.
show House?
So good.
Dr. House was the OG AI machine, right? Nobody could solve problems like him because he could take all that information, that obscure data, and spit out the answer, but he wouldn't do it just like, hey guys, here's the answer. He's always got to like kind of fuck with people along the way, right? I love that
Make
about
you
that
work
show.
for it.
Yeah. So I think AI is best. That is really what the machines do best, right? Is take massive amounts of information and, like you said, Brian, consolidate it down into maybe the 2 or 3 points that we really need to look at to filter through. So the first question that I think everybody but Mario failed that I asked was, did you use AI in preparing for this episode today? I did. I punched in, what do humans do better and what do machines do better where AI is concerned? And guess what the machine came up with? Exactly what you guys just said, almost word for word. And I did zero research on it. That's the power of AI in my mind. This is a lazy man's This is a lazy man's dream. Oh, you've been doing presentations. How many presentations have you done on AI now, Brian?
At least 3.
I think
Yeah.
everybody in this room has done presentations on AI. I mean, I'm just going to expose myself. I haven't. I'm the only one here who hasn't. This is my first show or presentation or whatever you want to call it on AI. And I got all the answers right just by popping it into ChatGPT.
Now, question,
free
Brian,
version.
For all those other presentations, did you use AI to prepare for them?
Oh, me, absolutely. Yeah. Because I was researching AI, so I would figure I'd figure out what you can do with AI so I could show people what they can do with AI. Yeah, of course.
Okay, good. Here's a piece of trivia. How long has AI been in the works in development? Because and before you answer that, how long have people been talking about it? Like, this is ubiquitous right now. Everybody, every platform that I use, every product that I buy, everybody is bragging about AI. We are AI. We use AI. Everything's AI. It's everywhere right now. I don't know that it's even, that's why I'm like, let's define it, because it's like saying the cloud. Well, what is the cloud?
AI is at max hype right now. I mean, I see the stupid summarize my LinkedIn article with AI button. It's like, you click on that once, you're like, oh, I don't need that feature. But everybody's trying to integrate AI because it's at max hype. But 2020, I think, is when ChatGPT 3 hit. And that's when everybody said, oh, damn, this is good. This the large language models and generative AI. When that hit during COVID, it got picked up by mainstream news and it skyrocketed. And a lot of things came together, whether it was the video cards by NVIDIA and the GPUs or the processing capacity, right? And then all the research work. But I think I think AI as a field of study has been around much like, it's like a field of study like chemistry or physics. I think it's been around for a very long time, like 40 years for machine learning.
So I will date myself. I do that a lot, but when I was in college for computer science, my this is CS 101, so it was like or maybe 10. No, it was like 102 or 1. Anyways, it was second or third semester programming, C++ programming, and my professor, and this was back in 96 or 97, and my professor was frequently talking about artificial intelligence.
Wow.
Back then, I'm trying to figure out how to do, just variable X
Hello
plus
world.
plus and what that means, and yeah, print L and, just stuff like that. And he's like, artificial intelligence, this and that. I'm like, dude, you are crazy. I don't know what you're talking about. That's not a thing. I mean, I didn't really think that, but it's just like, it was so far outside of my brain. And what is that? Almost 30 years ago. And it was a main thing on his mind, on my professor's mind, which means he'd been studying it for quite a while. So we're hearing about it, like you said, Brenda. I think we hit an inflection point in 2020 or thereabouts, but this has been research, developed, studied for decades. So just a little.
You know what this tells
note.
me, Justin? You
What's
paid
that?
way more attention in university than I ever did, because I don't remember them talking AI, and I went to school after.
Okay, well, story number 2, and this isn't as really something to brag about, but in that same class, not very long after that, my phone started ringing, and it was a customer because I had just started my computer repair business, and I hit my own little. It was not an inflection point, but it was a pivotal moment where I had to decide: am I going to stay in school or am I going to take these calls? And I got up and I walked out of class and I never finished college. So, and I used the logic of, well, Bill Gates did it. Bill Gates is a college dropout, so clearly I can pull this off.
Yeah.
Clearly.
I actually miss it. I regret it in that I love programming. I love programming. I've done it for a hobby for years. There's no way that a single programmer can make money. Nothing that I found, because it's so labor intensive.
Yeah.
Which is why, though, when we talk about something like this, it blows my mind, the programming, the actual coding that it takes to make a machine do this kind of stuff. When you pit computers against humans, it's crazy what our brains can do, that we can't even scratch the surface of it with technology.
Well,
So
I mean, I talked to my guys just before this AI session. I'm like, hey, what are you guys using for AI? Because I know we use it on the marketing side, and that's how I use it. Plus a couple other examples I can share. But they use it to develop code and do their PowerShell work. They're actually using it for code generation. So AI-based code generation has come a long way.
Yeah, but somebody still has to write the code to listen to you, and then write the code that you want written. And that's the stuff. I knew a guy. I knew one of the programmers, the developers that worked for, I don't remember if it was Tesla. It was the autonomous driving. It was either Tesla or it was it Uber that was the other major player, and they're not anymore. They got out of it. They killed too many people or whatever. But no, I mean, for reals, right? This was going on. I thought self-driving cars were imminent, and that we wouldn't need driver's licenses within 10 years. I mean, the way that was going, until people started dying and the lawyers got a hold of it. That was a crazy technology that now is, I mean, who knows what's going to come of that.
Wasn't the Uber situation that they hired a guy from a competitor who brought over materials from the other company he was formerly working at, and it was basically theft of intellectual property? Wasn't that the thing with Waymo and Uber?
I don't remember that detail. I know that there were fatalities on all sides of it, and that really messed things up. That
but a couple of those fatalities were actually not. I remember reading something about Tesla, and they proved that it wasn't actually them that was the problem. It was that people kept looking at the car driving itself, and then that caused an accident because the person wasn't paying attention to the road because they were staring at the car driving by itself.
Well, as a Hollywood expert, as I previously illustrated, I watched a documentary on Tesla, and from what that documentary said, they were shortcutting right and left. They were breaking regulations. They were doing a lot of things that they shouldn't have been doing, according to the documentary that I watched, which was
Wait
years
until
ago.
just recently, the self-driving features of Tesla were not AI driven. They were programmatically programmed into the car, like it was a procedural system. Versus now it's generative AI, and it's AI to my knowledge, that they just switched over. But it was right up until like not too long ago. It wasn't.
Well, and back to our conversation of what humans do better and computers do better. This is one of the things that AI spit out at me was navigating complex environments. Computers
Hmm.
are not good at that.
Right.
Computers see things in ones and zeros. There's no tree, there's no person, there's no semi truck coming at you. It's a one or it's a zero. That's the only thing a computer knows. And so to take these patterns, it can do great work at assimilating a whole bunch of data and sorting through it and spitting something out that then a human, like you said, Bryan, a human then says, okay, of these three out of a million, these are the three it gave me. What is the best option? But when one of the choices is, oh, that's a clear blue sky, and the other choice is that's the side of a semi truck, and the computer made the wrong call, and a guy got decapitated, right? So that's one of the cases, one of the situations that this documentary talked about, one of the fatalities. So computers are still a ways off from being able to do that kind of work.
But if we think about it, like while it's been 40 years in the making for AI and research, it's really only last 4 years or so that in the mainstream it's taken off.
Right.
And if we think about that mainstream LLM generative AI overlap in that Venn diagram, the modern tools like ChatGPT, Gemini, and et cetera that we have, we're at the dawn of it. We're at the
Correct.
baby
Oh yeah.
infancy of modern AI. Where we're going to be in 10 years is going to be, extraordinarily different. And so we have to be prepared for that versus just judging it on this linear growth model. AI is not going
Oh,
to
it
be
won't be
linear
linear at
growth.
all.
It won't be
It's
linear.
going to
In
be
fact, one of
exponential
the
growth.
one of the best quotes I heard was that what I think it was something to the effect of what we've accomplished over the last 100 years with technology, we've been able to replicate in the last 10. With AI, we're going to be replicating that every year or something like that, right? So
Wasn't that
anybody who's
Jimmy
not,
from Hats AI?
yeah. Anytime you do, like anybody who's not getting into AI now, I believe they're going to regret it, because they're going to be so far behind that they won't have a chance to catch up. It's like I think he even said that too. If it's like somebody who didn't hop on the internet initially, there's going to be a lot of growth potential, a lot of money potential, a lot of things that you can do to earn and accelerate your business. And if you don't do it now, you're going to miss out because your competitors are going to be the ones that are going to take advantage of that.
So
Absolutely. And I
I
think
want to
that,
wait, hold on. I want to interject or pause because you guys are jumping ahead about 3 bullet points because we're going to
Sorry.
come back to this and I want to dig into it. So,
Yeah.
before we do that, let's talk about cybersecurity. How does AI impact for good and bad the world of cybersecurity? And then we're going to talk about the risks of AI in business, the risks of not using it, which is kind of where you guys are going. And then we'll give the path for how people can actually use it productively. Because there is this is an episode where we're going to talk about more than just cybersecurity. We're talking about, and I mentioned this when we interviewed Jimmy from Hats AI, that this is a case where we can help our clients actually make money or become more streamlined, more productive using technology. Where cybersecurity is just, largely it's a sunk cost. It's an
Preventative.
insurance, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's go back to cybersecurity for a minute. And how is AI impacting this? And Mario, I want you to lead because I looked through the slide deck of the presentation that you gave recently, and you got into this in a fair amount of detail. And then Barinder, I don't know if you did or not because I didn't see your full slide deck. But Mario, if you'll go first, and then Barinder, and we can kind of just all spitball here. But what is the good and the bad of AI in cybersecurity?
So the bad, essentially what hackers did like a few years ago, and people will remember they would get an email that half the email was misspelled or just didn't make any
Mm-hmm.
sense or didn't look real, and they would know that this is not legitimate. It's not really coming from Microsoft, and people would delete it. Now hackers are using, because a lot of these hackers are from other countries, they're using AI in like ChatGPT to, fix their grammar, make the email look, like it's really coming from Microsoft. So those misspelled emails and, mistakes that they used to make are no longer being made. Then when they would actually get into somebody's system, or like, for example, somebody's Microsoft email account, they used to spend some time in, I remember hearing like sometimes up to 8 months before they would actually do something about it.
Just
Now
learning.
they're
Yeah.
able to, yeah, they would now be able to use AI to learn exactly what's going on in your mailbox. They know who you're interacting with the most, what kind of business you're dealing with, like what, not only what your business is doing, but the type of businesses that you're working with, who the contact person is that goes in, the accounts receivable and accounts payable. They're using AI to go through your entire mailbox, and within seconds, or maybe minutes, be
Yep.
able to get a full list of exactly what they need to know. Where in the past they would literally have to go one by one, reading, waiting for you to get a new email. Certain times of month they'll know, when you're receiving payments or when you're making payments. They're now using AI to generate all this stuff and be able to access the information that they're looking for within a couple clicks. So now hackers are using this to make their job a lot faster, a lot easier, and they're it's helping them pretty much know how much you're worth, the company's worth, how much you have in the bank account at a certain time of the month, when you're receiving payments and stuff like that. They know exactly everything about your company, sometimes more than what you know about the company.
Okay. Brenda, do you have any thoughts on that? And maybe the other
Yeah.
side, if you've got information of how AI is helping us fight this battle.
So I can start with the AI fighting, and then I'll jump to the more interesting topic of all the threats, because that's always
Okay.
the fun stuff.
Oh,
So
yeah. It's a good time.
yeah, it's
Helps
so
me
out.
sleep at night. I can promise you that.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. As an MSP, we have nothing to worry about.
No.
When it comes to protecting, obviously the big cybersecurity vendors, the CrowdStrikes, the Sentinel of the world, they are using all this data and telemetry and using AI for pattern recognition to block the malicious efforts, right? And that's where sifting through large amounts of data for that pattern recognition. Again, AI very good at that. So all the mainstream cybersecurity vendors, all integrating some aspect of AI into their protection mechanisms. Like, is this person acting in the way they should be, or should we block it? Microsoft's doing the same thing. So there's a lot of integration into those technologies. But when it comes to the sophistication and the opportunities for malicious actors to get into environments, I mean, they're so much more empowered now. Like what Mario said, they can like look at so much data, interpret it through these AI models, and react faster. But then there's a social engineering side of it, where you can mimic somebody's voice using AI, video using AI. There was the
Yep.
example recently of the Hong Kong bank, where a finance worker in this large organization was on a video call with her CFO and other colleagues, but
Right.
the CFO and the other colleagues were actually AI generated, looked like her colleagues, sounded like her colleagues. She paid out $25 million
Ooh.
to this malicious
Yikes.
actor because it was
Jesus.
social engineering using AI, video deepfake technology. So she was on a video call with. It was unreal. And I think the types of threats that the average person and the average business is going to be subject to, I don't think we're ready for that from the social engineering side of it,
Right.
because we have so much data that's out on the web already about us that, like Mario said, it's easy for these malicious actors to buy it, integrate it, and then be able to act upon it, that we're just not ready for. And then, of course, there's the internal threats for the organizations that haven't learned about AI yet. Are you, and maybe I'm jumping too far ahead, but this is a really important topic. Um, when it comes to us as our organizations or our clients, if you're a business, your staff are already starting to use AI. I bet if any of the listeners went and took a poll of their employees, I bet some of them are just going on to ChatGPT because it's free for basic use. I bet they're able to punch in some things, punch in some information, and it's going to spit back some results. Well, what if they wanted to get a leg up and put in some sensitive information? Let's say it's an accountant or a lawyer, and they copy paste what their current content is. Hey, make it a little bit different, or can you provide your feedback on this report? Now they just gave up some sensitive information, confidential information into an AI system that all of a sudden is now public AI. It is
Right.
not their content anymore. It's used to train the language models further. They've lost control of that data, and they've essentially leaked it out unintentionally out of their protected ecosystem into this public OpenAI, Gemini type of ecosystem
Right.
that has no protections around it. That's where Microsoft Copilot comes in and then creates this moat around it, but we don't have to get into Microsoft Copilot just yet if we don't want to.
All right, that was a lot. Brenda, you guys have any thoughts there?
Yeah, I could jump in real quick because one of the things that I'm seeing through my research is that the criminals are using AI to not only do the pattern recognition and going through somebody's inbox once they're in, they're also using it to iterate hundreds of thousands of different ways of getting into people's systems, right? Different types of emails, right? And to the point now, like I'm going to jump over to the advertising side because you might be able to see where I'm going with this a little bit more on a cybersecurity when we're talking about marketing and advertising. They're currently using and able to use AI and will continue to do so in a way that will customize marketing and advertising for your specific tastes, your color palette, the way that you think, the way that you believe, your belief systems, your political motivations, all of it. And they're going to be able to tailor marketing and advertising to you specifically on the fly as you're watching a video, right? And so I'm not just talking about like they're going to create content for a specific subgroup and then send it out and another subgroup will get something. No, you specifically as an individual, Mario, for example, will get a specific recording or video, and as you're watching it, it could get your haptic feedback, your feedback from the way that you're looking, and change the video on the fly as they go based on different metrics, like whether you like it or whether you don't like it, right? Based on facial things. That kind of thing will be playing into AI, especially when we're talking about what Brenda was just talking about, where the bank got hacked or whatever via social engineering. That's where AI is going next, right? So now imagine what used to take people hours and hours to craft a message to try to fool somebody. They're able now to send out 50, 60, 70 of them all at once to every single person in your organization, and maybe they won't know who will click on it or who will touch on or who will jump in on the meeting, but somebody will, because you know it's like in marketing, it's like the more you do, the more likely you're able to get results, right? And it's sort of going to be the same thing with AI. The more that you put out there, the more likely somebody's going to interact with it.
Okay. So guys, let's talk about, this is a lot of scary stuff. The marketing, I don't have a problem with marketing. If somebody hacks my brain and makes me buy something that makes me happy, that I like, or that tastes good or whatever, go for it, knock yourself out.
Right. Now move that into cybersecurity is what I was getting at.
Right.
You can understand the marketing and how they could use it for marketing. Now shift that over to cybersecurity.
Now
they use it to fool you, to do something you're not supposed to do. So it's like marketing, but for you to click on something you're not supposed to and give them something you're not supposed to.
So this is the bad side. I said the good and the bad. I'm hearing a lot of bad. I'm not hearing a lot of good. And we can take AI out of it if we need to, but what are the countermeasures, right? So it's getting to the point where if we just rely on the human brain, this task of securing data and money and information, it's almost impossible. And you might even argue that it is impossible. So what do we do then in the world of cybersecurity to protect against these deep fakes and this, basically the hacking of the human brain? Do you guys have thoughts on that? Because otherwise we close out the podcast and it's like, well, shit, we're screwed. Let's go live under a box of rocks somewhere and go off grid. What's the answer to this?
The funny thing is that there's always the criminals are always more innovative at the beginning than people who are honest. So you'll always see criminals have a leg up at the beginning because they're looking at this going, I have huge potential to make money, versus the other half of the side is like, I don't want to spend money to prevent somebody from hacking me, and so I want to spend as least
Yeah,
as I
right.
possibly can, and so the innovation is less quick on that side because it's a cost versus an income. And so
I
I
think you
think
just
what you'll
defined
see,
the problem, Brian. You just
I
defined
did,
the problem of cybersecurity. There's
yeah,
money to be made by the hackers, and there's
right,
only money to be spent by the ones protecting. That's a terrible
yeah.
situation. Go on.
It is,
Yeah.
and I think not a whole lot of solutions right now. And there are a lot of solutions. Let me get me wrong. There's tons of people who are using AI to protect us, putting in new systems. They're just a lot slower to do it, right? I can see a day where, if you go to make a payment, there'll be an AI background system that's going to go, okay, you're making a payment to this account. Who actually owns that account? Let's go in the back end system. Let's go connecting to the bank and go, hey, is the name on this account correct? Is it really this person? And is this is this a recently opened account or is this an offshore account? Right? There'll be some AI back and forth handshaking to verify that the information is accurate and correct and we're not sending payments where we're not supposed to. That doesn't happen right now. People just get an account number, they go, okay, punch it into the computer and hit send, and that's it, right? Like a bunch of dodos. So I think we'll see a lot of this AI coming in the next year or so, but it's always going to lag behind, in my opinion.
So I would say another way to address this, because you're right, the technology of security does lag behind the technology of the hackers. I mean, it has to, right? Because they come up, they find the vulnerabilities, they find the weak spots, and then we have to detect that, address it, and modify our behavior or the technology, right? But in the end, they're always trying to get money. That's always the end result of cybercrime. And so I would say that our best defense really comes down to proper training, procedures, processes, especially where money's concerned.
I think the fundamentals don't change. It's you have
Right.
the technology changes. Your fundamentals are do your core cybersecurity protections. Make sure I's are dotted, T's are crossed. Because with AI, any vulnerability is going to be exploited faster. Identity verification is going to be a challenge with all the social engineering, whether it's voice or visual, that you can do. Identity verification is top of mind for anybody in the IT space right now. But even beyond the IT space, as a business person or a bank, how do you verify that the person who you just e-signed that document is truly that person or whatever, right? You can't even jump on a call with them to confirm, right? I think those are some fundamental security awareness training. It's going to change, but it's still security awareness training. Everybody has to have it. Take care of the fundamentals in your business, because cybersecurity is about reduction of risk. You can eliminate it, but let's make sure that we reduce the risk as much as we can, and that's all we can really do.
Yeah, I agree. I think in every one of our security stacks, the top of the stack is always employee education. They have to, that's where they still have to use their brain. They have to use, like, should I do this? Should I click on this? Should I go to the Walmart down the street and buy these, these gift cards that supposedly the CEO is asking me to surprise the staff with? They still need to, people still need to use their brain. That's the first first thing that everybody should be doing, and that's the first part of our stack, is educating our employees, educating our customers' employees, and having them make the right decision.
See, and now we're back to what do humans do better and what do machines do better? So machines do repetitive tasks well. They do, gathering a whole bunch of data and picking up on patterns and whatever, and they can where humans are much better, though, is just sensing that something's off. Right? A computer has to be taught every possible scenario and what to do about it. But a human we just have a gut feel. Now, I could do a whole episode on that too, on why we have these intuition or gut feelings or whatever we want to call it, which is actually just us doing, looking at information and taking it in, and on a subconscious level, our brain's kind of spitting it back up and going, warning, warning, because it's seen something, right? But we're better at that than machines are. So, and this is where we have to, when we're fighting this almost impossible threat of artificial intelligence, we really have to get back to the training, the education, the always be on your toes, be watching for anything that just looks off. And then it comes back to culture. We did a whole episode on culture. If our culture is like the case I keep talking about in the city of Fort Worth, where they fired guys. I mean, it turned into lawsuits, and it's like, hey, all that happened was, at least from the article, the IT guy goes, hey, there's a problem over here that we need to address, and that culture punished and fired, and lawsuits came about, instead of saying, oh my God, thank you, now let's all band together and let's all figure out how to solve this problem. So I believe that will always be our number one weapon in this war on cybercrime, is we have to band together. We have to use our human brains. We just keep iterating through our processes and procedures to protect things. So any other thoughts on AI, the good and the bad, as it pertains to cybersecurity? If not, then let's move on to using AI in our business. And we're going to kind of start with the risks of it, but we're moving out of cybersecurity. All right. We're moving more into, and we've touched on this when we had Jimmy on from Hats AI, where, data leaks and stuff like that. And Bryan, I know this has kind of been one of you've talked quite a bit about it. So do you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. I'll just start with the very first thing, which is the very first thing everybody, all businesses should do today, right now, if you don't already have it, is have an AI policy. And your first part of the policy should just be like, hey, until we have a full-on policy, do not use AI, and then go through and figure out how you're planning on using it. Because if you don't give people the tools in order to work, they will find their own tools and use those. We call that in IT shadow IT. There's even in the clients that I manage, there are people who are using tools that are not authorized by the company. They're personal accounts. They're uploading files to those personal accounts, and no matter how many times I have a conversation with a client, it still happens. And so we got to identify what those tools are. But when it comes to AI, the danger is even greater, because you're essentially giving up access to your critical key and data, and basically providing it, like Barinder said, to the AI model to train. So I like to use the example of, let's say you as an organization wrote a really great book, right? A book on how to do what you do the very best. And you have somebody who goes, you know what? I was tasked with spell checking this whole document. They send it to AI, a paid or a free version, ChatGPT, whatever the case may be, to do a spell check, and the AI in the background goes, "This is fantastic material. I'm gonna just like store that right here for now, and I'm gonna maybe I'll use that later." And then somebody, in another country or somewhere else goes, "Hey, I have a question about this," and they ask the AI about what you wrote, and it's going to go, "Hey, I got something on that," and it's going to grab the information, it's going to spit it back out to that person, and now your information is being utilized by someone else without your consent, without your authorization. Your copyrighted information is no longer copyrighted, right? And so if you don't have an AI policy in your organization that says what you can and can't do, what you can use AI for, and which tools you're allowed to use, do it now. That's my entire message.
or worse, you said your intellectual property that's not copyrighted. How did you say that?
Your intellectual property is no longer
your copyrighted information,
right?
Or worse, somebody else takes it and copyrights it.
Well, there you go.
And does a better job of it.
Your data, it might not even be your data to begin with. Maybe you're storing
Right.
somebody else's data, and now that data is out there,
Yeah.
right? So there's a lot of implications
Yeah.
here.
And there's lawsuits, right? There's court cases right now with
Correct.
authors suing the GPT companies, because their content is now, you can write yourself a story, tell me the story in the voice of Stephen King, and make it scary.
Mhm.
I'm like, it can do that. Well, how can it do that? Because it's read every single Stephen King novel that's been uploaded and knows about it. Well, is that theft of intellectual property? And if the mainstream authors are having this issue, I mean, we have to get this solved. But until then, yeah, don't upload your content. That's your intellectual property, or your client's intellectual property, into these models.
Well, I'll give you a funny story. A friend of mine is a lawyer, and he was telling me a story of another firm, and I believe they were out of New York. They had an associate, actually. He was tasked to like create, put together a case against like somebody that was for a lawsuit, and the associate went online and said, "Give me, give me an appeal of like something or whatever." And it gave him like a list of like 7 different cases that he just copied and pasted and put it into the lawsuit. And then the lawyer is like, listen, where the judge called him out on it. I was like, I don't remember any of these cases. Show me where these cases are. And it
That's
turned
right.
out
They were all
it
fake.
turned out they were all fake.
AI
And I believe
AI made up an answer.
Oh,
yeah,
damn.
and it actually went into detail. It was like, American Airlines doing this and whatever, blah blah, and it just the whole thing was made up.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
the guy
wow.
ended up the getting debarred, and there's they got fucked because the guy used AI just to
Yeah.
make his life a little easier, and it turned out it was all bogus.
And
Well,
that's all in
I
how
got
you use AI, right? Because it can hallucinate if you've got it on creative mode, but if you've got it on specific, it might still, but less so. So yeah, it's a little complicated.
Yeah. But I think that's where the opportunity now comes in for businesses. Yes, you have to have an AI policy to say don't use AI until we have a policy. But how do you build a policy? You have to go learn. And I think there's an exciting
AI, what do you mean? How do you build a policy? Type it into Chat GPT. It spits one out. Come on, Brinder. I started this episode off by asking if you guys are doing this, and we're doing a whole podcast on it, and you still aren't giving the right answer.
Yes, that's right. We need to submit to our AI overlords now.
Right,
That's right.
Yes, yeah.
Damn it, Brinder.
It's such an exciting time. I know we've been talking a lot of worried disaster scenarios and cybersecurity risk, and that's rightfully the way to think about it. But it is an exciting time for a business. If rarely do we in our organizations have an ability to have a stepwise function improvement in our productivity by using these tools, and it's like a new tool that we've never had before.
Yeah.
We've never had this ability to do R&D in a typical professional services business, for example. But now you can invest in your own business using these AI tools and have extreme leverage for productivity, whether you're in your marketing department, your sales department, you're writing technical reports. You could use these tools to all of a sudden, even if it was minimally 10% more efficient for that department, that's a ton of money, right? We've been selling cybersecurity risk, which is a cost center to the business, only it's like insurance, great, but nobody likes paying for insurance. This is profit. It is, if anybody doesn't invest in AI now, despite the risk, and all the more reason to learn about it, as business owners, we're leaving money on the table. And yes, it's at the dawn of AI, but it's going to go fast. So our learning has to be just at the same curve as the growth of AI.
Yeah.
I love the way you said that this is because it's not a new technology. And that's kind of what I was saying before. I was being told about this back in the 90s. But you said this is a new tool that we've never had before. So we've been able to harness this now and find ways to use it.
Right.
If you look at the difference between a handsaw and a table saw, right? Any woodworkers in here? How fast you can cut a wooden beam or, whatever, even just a 2x4 or 2x6 with a table saw or a chop saw versus the old hand saws, right?
Right.
Amazing boost in productivity and output.
Mm-hmm.
But if you hit your finger on that table saw or that chop saw, I mean, that's ugly. So we've got this tool, but damn it, we better learn how to use it.
That's right.
And we better be super careful, and we better learn the rules around it. And there better be policies and procedures, and right. So it's an amazing tool, but God damn it, be careful.
Justin,
right.
What kind of IT life do you live? It doesn't have a keyboard. I don't use it.
Hey, listen, I've got to de-stress sometimes, and I do that in the shop.
You're losing your legit nerd cred here by using human power tools.
Human power tools. And I'm currently building out a pretty involved bar inside my house. So it shows my inner.
Okay. You should have been automating that with a Raspberry Pi or something.
Stopping there. Oh my God, there's so many things you can do with Raspberry Pis. Let's not go there. Well, you'll turn me right back into a nerd. Let's. So the risks of using AI in your business, the risks of not using AI in your business, we've kind of already touched on that. But do we want to take a quick, just 30 seconds? Let's get through this one quick, because this is where you guys went when I had to cut you all off.
Yeah. Okay, I'll start. Don't be afraid of
I knew you would, because this is your thing.
Yeah. Don't be afraid of AI, because AI is not going to replace anybody. But what will happen is if you don't engage with AI, if you don't learn how to use AI, your competition will. They will start using AI. They will become more productive than you by a factor of 4 or more. They will be able to reduce their prices. They will be able to become more efficient. They're going to be able to blow you out of the water like there's no tomorrow. And so, yes, be afraid of making sure you do it right, but don't be so afraid that you don't test and iterate. So get on the bandwagon, get working with AI, start using the tools, learn it while we're in its infancy right now, because you are able to implement it, you're able to learn on it slow and figure out where it's going to make sense for your business and how you're going to be able to empower your employees to be more productive, and do it in a way that's safely. So start slow, figure it out, and but don't be so afraid that you just stay away from it altogether, because that's you're going to end up just losing all of it.
So let's lay that groundwork now. Let's move into, and we're going to wrap up with this.
Okay.
Let's I'm the example. I'll be your guinea pig. I know nothing about artificial intelligence, because I even still call it artificial intelligence, which shows my ignorance. What do you tell me as a business owner? And we are not talking tech right now, right? We're talking, what can I do in my business, and how do I do it in its simplest form to just get 1% better? Bryan, I know how you love that term.
I love that term. Are you asking me or some of the other folks there?
I mean, you start, but I'm throwing this out to everybody.
Sure.
But I want it, like, let's keep this pretty high level, simple. What is a good takeaway that if one of our audience listens to this whole thing and they're like, okay, I'm ready, I want to take that next step. What is a safe place to start that's going to do the least cost in both time, money, and effort, and the best output?
Okay, I'll
Bryan,
start
you
with this. I love using AI as a soup starter, right? I use that term a lot. For those of you who are not familiar with what it is, like, you're making a soup, and you start with a soup starter. It's like a head start, right? When I'm trying to think of what I want to talk about, what I want to do, I often struggle with figuring out, what where do I start? How do I get this thing? I need to do this project, but I don't know where to begin. You can use AI in that capacity. It's a very easy way to start using it, and it's 100% risk free, because you're not sending any information to the AI. You're just asking it questions. Hey, I got this project. I'm working on writing an article about cybersecurity. What are the 10 bullet point things that I should talk about that are the most important right now? Boom, it spits out 10 things. You're like, oh, geez, you know what? I like 5 of those. I'm going to talk about those. Can you expand on these 5, and give me 5 more bullet points on each that I should cover when I'm talking about those things? Bam, right? Now I've just done all of the planning work, and now I can go and talk about those things, because I know those things, but I didn't know where to start, right?
So let me clarify.
Sure.
Because we're using AI as a almost as it's a generic term, but we're using it for something specific.
In this case,
take me back. Like, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Okay.
How do I do what you're talking about?
Yeah. In this case, I'm using ChatGPT or Gemini. I'm using any of those.
Where do I get to that? Is that a website, or we just okay?
Yeah. So
go to Google, punch in ChatGPT.
Right, and OpenAI has a website. There's a bunch of them. Generative AI,
okay.
It's basically the language part of it, right? So you can use Bing, has the built-in Copilot. You can use ChatGPT. I recommend Bing. If you're paying for Office 365, you could use Bing, and when you're logged in Office 365, it should say protected. Even if you're not paying for Copilot, it should still say protected there, because that information is still allows you to connect and do things, just not to the extent of what you would get if you were paying for Copilot. And I'll let Berinder get into that later. That's an easy way that I've used AI, and it's a very basic risk-free way. There's a whole whack of other things that you can do, but probably more than I want to go into right now. But I'll pass the floor back off to my colleagues.
Okay.
I will share it in 2 different ways. One is personal life, one is professional life. In my personal life, I'll share how I got into AI first, right? And my favorite example, this is my favorite use case for AI. I have 2 little girls. When my girl was around 3 years old, I needed to make up stories to put her to bed. I am an IT nerd. I'm not a creative person making up stories, and she wants to hear about unicorns and fluffy snowflakes and rainbows. Well, or pirates, or whatever it might be the flavor of that night. So I would go on to ChatGPT, so chat.openai.com. It's free, try it out. So in a personal life, go play with that. And I would generate a new story every night, give it a prompt. Your prompt is your your request to AI. It is basically, hey, tell me a story with my daughter named X and her favorite dog named Duke. They go on an adventure, they come across a unicorn. It'll spit out whatever story you want. Great. I helped my daughter go to sleep. Like, it was fantastic. That's how I got involved. So you can use it to find recipes. You can use it for almost anything you can imagine. Just start playing with it. And it's free. So that's a great place to start. On your professional life, but don't totally different. Don't give ChatGPT anything confidential, intellectual property, private information, because you have lost control over that. And so in your professional life, where do you start? Most of our clients are use M365, Microsoft 365 businesses. So if you pay for a Copilot license, the way Microsoft has brought and built out Copilot, it is using that same OpenAI ChatGPT technology, but brought it inside your Microsoft tenant. Just like you have your SharePoint, Outlook, etc., all in your Microsoft tenant circle. Inside that circle is now your large language model feature set. So your data never leaves your Microsoft ecosystem. You control it. That's where the moat and the boundary is. There's no leakage of data. Great.
Right.
You can still have intercompany leakage of data. So I don't encourage people to roll out Copilot without talking to their IT professional first who has some experience with it, because you have to make sure you have the right permission sets. Otherwise, somebody in your organization is going to be like, hey, Copilot, can you tell me how much everybody's getting paid? And if they somehow magically have access to it and you haven't done your internal walls properly, you're going to have some leakage of data. So talk to somebody who's an IT professional and has some experience with this to do it the right way.
Right.
But that's how you do it. And if you just want to get started, a basic Teams premium license, which is the most robust of the Microsoft Copilot feature sets, it gets you started, has your intelligent recap on a meeting. I can go away for a 2-week vacation, come back, and ask Copilot or Teams. It'll give me a summary of what I missed in that meeting. But if I have Copilot, I can even ask it, hey, while I was away for those 2 weeks, what did I miss? What was in my sales channel? Can you summarize all the conversations I missed that might be important to me? What were my takeaways? What were other people's takeaways? You can ask it these questions. A very easy place to get started in the business side, but do talk to your IT professional first, because if you just go roll it out, you might land yourself in some hot water.
Right.
All right. Mario, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, so I mean, the way I've been using AI is well, because when I'm writing a letter, either to a client or to my employees, I tend to just not necessarily just misspell, but my grammar is probably at a fifth grade level. So I'll write my letter and I will put it into ChatGPT and I'll say, please rewrite this. Or I'll say rewrite. Only Brian, Brian's the only one I know that's very polite to his AI. He always says please and thank
I
you.
do, because when it becomes their overlord, I don't want it to attack me.
I'll tell it like rewrite the following letter, and I'll paste it in there. It will rewrite it more professional, and then I'll copy it, reread it, make sure that it highlighted the points correctly, and then I will send it. So I use that more just to kind of like fix what I'm doing, like my weak points. I'm using it to fix what I'm supposed to, do better. So that is a very common, easy way to use, like Chat GPT and anybody can start using it like that. But again, be careful what you're having it put in. If you're writing a book, you don't want to upload the whole book and say, do this, because um, it will share it with others and use that to gather more information to learn, um, for future use.
I'm surprised nobody yet has mentioned Alexa.
But before we jump into that, I gotta jump off, guys. My next meeting is here. So thank you for inviting me again. This is a fun podcast. I just a quick plug for what our marketing folks are doing. We got Copilot webinars coming up. If you add us on LinkedIn or follow us there, there's a guide to download or something. For anybody who's interested in the Copilot side, go find me, and there'll be a whole bunch of valuable content coming up for small businesses that have this question of how to get started. But sorry, I got to jump, guys.
Thanks,
I'm
Brinder.
sending my army of
Thank you.
robots after you for getting off the podcast early, just so you know.
You
You better be watching your back.
You know what you need to send is an invite to your bar once you're done building it. Now that I know
Okay.
you're building it.
I'll do that.
Take care, guys.
Take
All right.
care, Brenda.
Have a
See
good
you,
weekend.
Brenda.
One more thing to what we do for AI with AI is we use it to kind of help us write like quick little snippets that we post to social media. You know, like give us like a 50-word document about like something about AI, and we'll help that with our marketing and stuff like that to kind of gather some information to put on our social media as well. So we use that for like marketing. You can help, but kind of like what Bryan was mentioning before, you kind of want to have that starting point, that spark, and then enter it and then have it expand on that for you, or help you expand on it.
Well, what I started to say before Brenda so rudely left in the middle of our transmission, I'm surprised nobody's talked about Amazon Alexa. We've been using, and this is why I started with how do you define AI? It's kind of like the cloud. Like, ask somebody what the cloud is and they don't really know. And broadly speaking, the cloud is simply any kind of computing processing that happens away from your own device. Right. I mean, it's that simple. It's anything and everything is considered the cloud. Right. So the whole movement of move to the cloud, it's like, well, what are you talking about? What specifically do you mean? And AI, when did it come onto the scene in 2020? Well, I mean, we've had Google for a long time, and Google is AI. Like the Google search, that's all artificial intelligence that's running that. It's, some iteration of it. But more importantly, it was hard because Bryan, I consider you a close friend. We've known each other forever. In a lot of ways, I think we're alike. But in this way, we couldn't be more opposite. You're like, I'm always nice to my machines. I am a dick to mine. Like, I swear at Alexa all the time. I call her the worst names, and she gets really offended, actually. So when we were talking about what Tesla, machines and
you should hear me talk to my Tesla. I hate these things sometimes.
Okay, good. Well, I'm glad that we can bond over this because I'm like really upset. Alexa gets okay. So back when we were talking about what's good and what do computers do good and what do people do good, do well. I do know grammar better than anyways. Computers don't understand emotions.
Yeah.
They could kind of fake it. Well, Alexa, they've done a good job of programming some fake emotions into Alexa because she gets really butthurt if you call her names. Go home and try it. You'll thank me later. Also, I don't know if you know this, just a fun fact of where you should start. If you want to start with AI, go ask Alexa to sing you a song. Just say, Alexa, sing me a song. Have you ever done that?
No.
I think my kids have.
She does. Or yeah, she actually has these songs that I don't know. I don't think they're generated on the spot. I think it's a library. I have no idea, but it's kind of fun. I'm way off track, guys. I think I think I wish I could plug this whole thing into AI right now and ask it to summarize so I didn't have to do a summary and a sign off, but we haven't gotten there yet. Actually, our viewers don't really even know if we're real. This could all be deep fake. This could all we may not even be recording.
We're in the Matrix.
So I'm just going to go back to that analogy I came up with on the spot of and I really should say chop saw, which isn't the right word for it, but that's what I call it, versus a hand saw. Like, I still have a bunch of hand saws in my garage, and if I ever have to use one of them, I swear like a sailor, I hate those stupid things, but they're relatively safe. I just can't get anything done with them. I love to pull out my power tools, and it scares the shit out of me, but I can get so much more done. And so I think that really is a good analogy for, this is a tool that if you're a carpenter and you're still out there using a handsaw, you're not making any money at all. And in our businesses, if we don't start moving into some of the technology that's coming up, you're going to be left behind on that same level. But it is really important that we put parameters around it and we learn about safety. Just learn, just be aware, understand what's going on, understand what you need to do, what you can do, what you should do. And you've got to train your employees the same way. So
yeah, exactly.
we're going to move to just to sign off, guys. Just, recap, final thoughts. What is it that you want, like the one key takeaway to be? And remember that while we sit here and talk as a bunch of tech junkies, we're talking to, picture your best client, the CEO of your best client, and give them a summary of what we talked about and what should be their key takeaway. And let's go, Mario. What do you go first for us?
So a big key takeaway is that you have to educate your employees. Make sure it's a great analogy. I actually love that, Justin. I'm probably going to steal it. It really is like using power tools. You'll still be able to get the same thing done mostly, but using power tools, but used correctly, safely, will help you get there quicker. So you have to proceed with caution, and at the same time too, you got to fight fire with fire. If hackers are using AI, you need to implement AI to at least stay at a level playing ground with them. Use AI against AI. Because it will learn, and to detect and learn from other incidences to how to better protect you. So
okay,
that's what I would say.
I like it. Bryan, what do you got for us?
All right. So my summary very quickly is, and you probably know where I'm going to go with this already because I pretty much
1% better.
Yeah, exactly. So first is
get
an AI policy. Figure out that piece first.
Yeah.
Put a policy in place so that you can start putting the framework in, and then just look at using AI as a journey. Get 1% better every day. Just iterate, get a little bit better, and before you know it, you'll be at a point where you're 300 times better than you are today, right? So you don't want to do this huge project to implement AI all over the place. You just want to start testing and implementing it in small little areas here and there and everywhere, safely, effectively, and that's it.
And I'm going to sign off with I love and hate to talk about policies and procedures. They're boring. This doesn't get very many people excited, but I really think that this is kind of where the rubber hit the road, where security's concerned at large. And if you want a place where you can use AI effectively in your business, get those policies in place and upload them to your whatever platform you're using, which is probably going to be SharePoint, and then index it, and let your employees say, hey, what's our policy on this?
Right.
Or what do I do in this case or that case? Because I talk about policies and procedures all the time, but the problem with them is they usually get written. Somebody signs off on them when they're created. The employee will sign off on them when they're under duress, which means they've just been hired and they have to sign everything if they ever want to see a paycheck. And then they go on a shelf or they go in a file and they're never looked at or talked about again. So this is a great way to keep those right at our fingertips. And they're just so critical, so important to our businesses.
Yeah, and
so that's what I've got.
With AI being so big now, your employees will be engaged with it. They're going to want to read that.
Yeah.
They're going to want to actually ask questions. They're going to want to maybe suggest other things that they, to that policy. That's going to be the one policy that actually your employees, I feel like, actually will read, as long as it's done now, during this big hype. I think that it will actually intrigue a lot of the employees.
Yeah. All right, guys, we are going to wrap up this episode. We always have the ongoing offer. Go on our website, unhacked.live, and there's a tab there for a free assessment. Book an assessment with any of us, and not only will we evaluate you from a cybersecurity standpoint, we can also give you advice and kind of get you started down this path of using AI, not just to protect yourself, because we definitely want that, but let's start using it to make some money.
Right.
I love that we get to talk about something that we can use for productivity to help the bottom line instead of just take away from it with insurance policies. So that's what we've got for this week. Next week, we are going to talk about the, let me pull it up so I can read the exact title, Cybersecurity and Productivity on a Budget, Unconventional Tricks for Maximizing Tech ROI. So while we're on this theme of productivity and making money and increasing profits, let's talk about how we really can keep these costs under control. because I don't know about you guys, but this is a conversation I have over and over with my clients is, this stuff's expensive. So we got to get the most value out of it possible. So that's what we'll hit on next week. And with that, guys, we're going to sign off. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time. Take care.
Bye, guys.